Welcome to Agenda News. The war between Ukraine and Russia continues. On the front lines, as well as in the international diplomatic arena, Kiev's allies are acting jointly, with one goal: to oppose Moscow's plans to invade Ukrainian territory. Especially European countries are very brave about sanctions and harsh rhetoric against Russia. Among the Eastern European bloc, Poland is among the countries that showed the strongest reactions to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, while the Warsaw government is among the most important supporters of Kiev. It also appears to be an Eastern European member who has voiced the harshest statements against Moscow. Of course, there are critical reasons why Poland has approached Russia so openly and sharply. If you recall, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that, at the request of Minsk, Moscow would deploy tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus, similar to what the United States has done on the territory of its longtime allies. Moscow supplied Belarus with the Iskander tactical missile systems, capable of carrying nuclear weapons, and helped Minsk re-equip its military aircraft to carry special weapons. The personnel and pilots who will use the missiles were also trained in Russia. Vladimir Putin then took action and stated that preparations for tactical nuclear weapons to be deployed in Belarus would be completed on July 7 through 8. Up to this point, the Poles had remained silent. Warsaw was only closely following Russia's decision to place tactical nuclear warheads in Belarus. But Dmitry Medvedev, the senior representative of the Putin regime and deputy chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, made wild statements on this subject. Dmitry Medvedev has been on the agenda like a bombshell. With his aggressive statements, Medvedev threatened NATO member Poland with a nuclear attack. The ex-president of Russia was threatening to seize not only Ukraine, but also NATO countries every week. But Medvedev's threat to Poland was so insane that even the Russian leader was surprised. Of course, the Warsaw government did not remain silent against these disturbing and crazy statements by Medvedev. Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki made a statement on this issue in Brussels on June 30. Following the European Council summit, Morawiecki called on NATO to place Russian tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus and demanded that American nuclear weapons be placed in his country. These striking statements by the Polish Prime Minister were considered the last warning against Medvedev. Mateusz Morawiecki does not want to sit idle in the face of Putin's threats. Poland has also expressed its desire to act swiftly on this issue, with the United States and NATO partners dependent on the final decision on access to American nuclear weapons. Due to the recent transfer of Russian nuclear weapons to Belarus, Polish officials have recently reiterated their plans to deploy U.S. nuclear warheads on their territory under the NATO nuclear sharing program. These striking statements from Warsaw were the last warning against the Moscow administration and its leader, Vladimir Putin, the ex-president of the Russian Federation. Dmitry Medvedev was outraged by this initiative. Medvedev, as usual, began to insult the Polish authorities and also threatened a nuclear attack. The deputy chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation came as a shock with the statement he made about Poland's NATO joint nuclear program. According to Medvedev, Poland's deployment of NATO nuclear weapons could result in the use of Russian nuclear weapons, pointing out that the final decision will be made by the USA. Medvedev evaluated Poland's nuclear weapons storage by saying that it may have a positive side. About this, Medvedev said, "All the political actors of the country and all evil spirits will perish. Unfortunately, along with thousands of evil spirits, others will perish." Dmitry Medvedev is so used to threatening Poland that we can say that he made offensive statements to Mateusz Morawiecki at every Opportunity. As you may recall, Medvedev had previously threatened Poland with nuclear weapons. Medvedev, who repeatedly claimed that they would use nuclear bombs in Ukraine in case of an attack on Crimea, argued that Poland would be destroyed because of its prime minister. Targeting Prime Minister Montsejo's Morawiecki, Medvedev said, "I don't know who would win or lose such a war. But given Poland's role as a NATO outpost in Europe, this country will surely disappear with its underdeveloped prime minister." In fact, Medvedev had previously suggested that they could wipe Ukraine off the map. Medvedev also suggested that if the Wagner Group seized Russia's nuclear weapons, the world would be on the brink of disaster. In a statement, Dmitry Medvedev claimed that Russia would not allow an insurgency led by mercenary boss Yevgeny Prigozhin to turn into a coup d'état or global crisis. Former President Medvedev, on the other hand, described the United Kingdom as Moscow's eternal enemy. Dmitry Medvedev went crazy enough to point out that British officials were a legitimate military target for Russian attacks. Medvedev argued that UK military support for Ukraine was an undeclared war against Russia, and that the United Kingdom was Moscow's eternal enemy. On this, Medvedev said, "The idiot authorities of our eternal enemy, the United Kingdom, should remember that, within the framework of universally accepted international law governing modern warfare, including the Hague and Geneva Conventions, with their additional protocols, their situation can also be characterized as at war." Medvedev, one of the closest people to the Russian president of Vladimir Putin, also claimed in a statement that the West was complicit in the Nord Stream pipeline explosions. A sharp drop in pressure was recorded at both gas pipelines under the Baltic Sea on September 26 last year, and seismologists identified explosions that triggered a wave of speculation that one of Russia's most important energy corridors was sabotaged. But it's still unclear what exactly happened to Nord Stream, a multi-billion-dollar project that transports Russian gas to Germany. In other words, Medvedev's accusations on this subject are considered unfounded. Medvedev, vice chairman of the Russian Security Council, said, "Judging from the proven complicity of Western countries in blowing up the Nord Streams, no restrictions, not even moral ones, that would prevent us from destroying our enemy's cable communications on the ocean floor would be left." Some US and European officials initially suggested that Russia had blown up its own pipelines, a comment denied by President Vladimir Putin. Russia has repeatedly claimed that the West was behind the Nord Stream explosions, particularly the United States and the UK, which denied any involvement. On the other hand, an unidentified blogger claimed in a previous post that the divers belonging to the US Navy destroyed the pipelines with explosives on the orders of President Joe Biden. The White House dismissed it, calling it completely false and purely fictional. But Russian officials and Medvedev agree that these claims are completely true. In fact, Medvedev thinks that there is no need for a research on this subject. He also added that Putin's crazy ally added that Russia now has the authority to destroy submarine communication cables Medvedev's claims about submarine cables worry the West a little bit, because Russia uses spy boats and submarines to destroy submarine cables in the North Sea, Arctic Sea, and off the UK also. The intelligence chief of the NATO military alliance warned that Russia could sabotage submarine cables to punish the West's for supporting Ukraine. In short, Russia is playing all kinds of games to make its invasion of Ukraine successful. But powers such as the USA, Europe, NATO, and the EU are taking a common stand against these plans of Moscow, as we mentioned in the video. Poland showed us one of the most important examples of this. In the coming days, tough sanctions and decisions against Russia are expected from other European countries and the USA. The reason for this is that Dmitry Medvedev still maintains his post in Russia. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow us and like the video.